Hey, Champion Nation. Welcome to the Champion Nation podcast.
We hear an awful lot about I am enough, you are enough, we are enough, everybody's enough. But then one day I looked up the definition of enough, and it is as follows: only as much as is required. Now, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I know that I am so much more than is required. So just by definition, the word enough isn't enough.
Wow, no. Wow.
So be very mindful of the words that you're using, because your subconscious will believe you. And that's if I leave your listeners with nothing else, the new mantra is, I am so much more than enough.
What's up, Champion Nation? It is Tayshawn Cooper, your host of the Champion Nation podcast, as well as the founder of the Champion Nation. I have the wonderful opportunity. We have the wonderful opportunity to watch, to listen to, and join the conversation with a model, with an author, and an entrepreneur, someone who really tipped the needle forward in society. None other than Miss Clarissa Burt. How you doing, Clarissa Burt?
Too good, too good. Really well. Thanks so much for having me on your show. I'm so excited to talk about your the nation, all the nation there. I want to talk about your nation.
You want to talk about the Champion Nation?
That Champion Nation. That's exactly right.
Absolutely. Well, Clarissa, just briefly tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Just a regular gal that, was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in a row home, and just decided, I guess it was really born, if you will, that, intrinsic, that I was going to be on stage in some way, shape, or form and in front of a microphone. So I was Mary Poppins in the kindergarten play. And after my rendition of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I got my first standing ovation, and that was it. I was hooked. So fast forward many years. I jest about it, but fast forward many years. I started modeling in New York City, was then sent to Europe. I lived in Italy for almost 30 years. And while I was there, I actually went over to model. That went well. I went over, then I moved into acting. That went well. Some people may remember me as Zayida in the NeverEnding Story Part II, the Mean Queen. And then, because that was the only movie I ever did that came stateside. And then I started to produce. I started to produce for Italian television, many different television shows, including the Miss Universe pageant, where we had 3-hour live broadcasts with 18 different cameras. And it was a big, so in other words, just the whole media thing is something I really have just loved since they told me that I was vaccinated with a phonograph needle, Kashon. That's what they told me. And if anybody in the audience doesn't know what a phonograph is, you're way too young. Get the hell out. No, kidding. You're way too young. Go Google what a phonograph is, and you'll understand. But yeah, I'm a talker.
Wow. Yeah, no, I am too. And so was my wife. So we're going to do our best to navigate through this. But thank you so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's double back a couple of years, a few years. You mentioned supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That was Mary Poppins. Your passion for performing at a young age. How did your early experiences in kindergarten and in school choir shape your career in the entertainment industry?
Right. I don't know if it really shaped. I knew, well, again, I was the kid there were 4 different kindergartens. There were 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And, Mrs. Bailey, who was the one that played the piano for us all, I was always on what they would call the sit-upon, the little cushy thing you'd put, was right behind her. And I wasn't the kid lingering. I was right behind her. And I knew every word to Puff the Magic Dragon, live by the... I knew them all. And so I was right behind her and just sang. I just sang my heart out. And I think that really is what got me the job. And so, from there, I loved it. I had no fear. I really loved it. And again, I got my first standing ovation at 5 years old, I was hooked. I knew that I absolutely loved entertaining. I was kind of, and it's funny because there's a little bit of a dichotomy. I'm as outgoing as I am an introvert. It's kind of this thing that I've had to navigate a little bit. But really, if you to ask, I'm really more of an extrovert than an introvert, but I do have a little bit of both. So fast forward, as I said, it just, it came to pass that I wanted to model. Never thought I could. I didn't think I was good enough, pretty enough, this enough, that enough. And once I really put my mind to it and I tried, it worked out beautifully. And so
who sung in your family? Did you get it from your grandmother, your father?
There were the shower singers. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
My father had a great voice. His mother had a great voice, and his uncle, actually, my uncle Buddy, who was my father's uncle, actually worked in vaudeville. So he had a beautiful voice, but he was the only one that really took it on the road. And I don't really remember. I think I met Uncle Buddy once as a child. So, it was that kind of thing. It was everybody had lovely voices, but nobody ever really, put it into as a or made it their profession. So I did. And I was happy as, to say I had my album come out when I was in Italy. I was on the radio in Italy. I had a ball with it. I just really took it to the next level.
What was the addiction? And I use that word intentionally. At 5 years old, we all like our self-esteem to be boosted, but you took those rounds of applause to a whole nother level.
Gosh, it's a great question. What was the addiction? The addiction was just, I think it was just, well, first of all, they used to give us way too much sugar back in the 60s, We had sugar everywhere. It was in our sodas. It was in our tea. It was in our desserts. It was in the candy. It was everywhere. So I think that, they used to call me a little bit of a hyper child. And then I'd say, well, damn, you guys even know how much sugar you were giving us back then?
Absolutely.
But at that point, I just understood that I really loved being, I had kids in the neighborhood say, we don't want to play with you. You're too bossy. And I realized then, it was like, wow, that really hurt. But, some years later, I found out that really wasn't such a bad thing. I think what it meant was I was a little bit of a leader. And to be a bit of a leader, you really have to be confident. And you might, I wouldn't say I was pushy. I was just really I was a strong personality from the get-go, from the outset. And I was the one that always pulled all the kids together for the neighborhood play. You
were assertive.
Yeah.
You were assertive.
I was sort of assertive. Yeah, let's put it there.
That is so cool. So your upbringing, as much as you're smiling now, was your upbringing in your childhood, was it peaches and cream with your mom and dad?
No, it really, really wasn't. Mom and dad got married very young, and they had to get married because of yours truly. And that's just the way it went. My mom got pregnant right out of high school. She graduated in June. She was pregnant with me by August. And there you go. That was kind of, back in the day. Now, remember, we're talking about I was conceived in 58. I was born in 59. That's the way it was then. You got married. And they got married. They were kids themselves. Completely different, personality types, should not have gotten married. And of course, the pursuing, next 20 years were hell for everybody. My dad drank. He was angry. He was violent. My mom was, she tried to hold it all together, but, she had a very fiery still has a fiery personality. It just was like, it was like the War of the Roses at home. And that meant PSTD. It was a very contentious place to live. It was a scary place to live. It wasn't always, it was not always fun. I think they did the best that they could. I'm not here to bash anybody. That's not what I do.
Absolutely.
I just think they were kids having kids. I think that, it was just, there were different times also, it was just different ways, different times. My mother was born in an Irish Catholic family. Both of them actually were born in Irish Catholic families. My dad went to the priests. He went to West Catholic boys for 12. He went to Catholic school for 12 years, as did my mother. Went to Catholic school for 12 years. Dad went to the boys. Mom went to the girl. You know how it was. That's just the way it was. And so they were different times, most definitely different times. So, we had to navigate as we, as I call them, the familiar tribe, when you leave the familial tribe, right, you've got that generational trauma that you take with you. And so you've got to learn how to navigate that without really much in the way of resources back in the day. Kashan, very well, when I was growing up, we had 3 bookstores: Walden, Book Borders, and Barnes and Noble. And in the way back, there was a little section with about 40, 50 books, and it was called Self-Help.
Yes.
And that's where I went. That's where I went for assistance, for solace, for my learning, for anything that would give me a leg up or help me understand why I might have been having some issues as well as I was going out into the world. Now, if you walk into Barnes and Noble, and I'm thrilled to say my book is also in Barnes and Noble, and it has.
Congratulations!
Thank you. It has been for almost 2 years, which is really great. Another crowning moment. But if you go in now, the only bookstore now is Barnes and Noble, but you walk down rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of what they now call personal development. So personal development being $1 billion industry here, and I can only in the States, and I can only imagine how much it makes globally. But just to go back to the point where, again, we're always looking for help, assistance, guidance, the reason why, who am I, what's my purpose, all of the different things that we go through as we grow, and we never continue, we never stop growing ever.
And thank you for sharing that. I not bashing anyone. I love my mother. My mother has been, she's passed away almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
And I love my dad as well. But there was some warm roses in the house, and what it does, it beats you up internally.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about your book. I promise that.
Oh no.
But one of the things that as a child that gets beat up the most is your self-esteem.
Yes.
And with that being said, how the separation of your mom and dad, how that had to be challenging for a young girl at age 5, clapping, everybody celebrating her, and then all of a sudden a tumultuous situation. What did that do for your self-esteem?
Well, I think it was a great thing, actually. For me, being the oldest and understanding maybe a little bit more than the younger 2 did. My siblings, I was able to step into a role where I was really one of the strongholds in the family. I was the mother to, a mother-ish figure to the younger 2. I was an almost a friend, if you will, to my mother and my father as I navigated, trying to keep myself out of trouble and keep everybody calm and at peace. It didn't always work. But I then had to step into a role that was really more matriarchal and patriarchal, funnily enough, where, I navigated where I think I felt that I could be, of use and of service to this family unit. At a certain point, it just became really clear that they had to be out of each other's company forever, my mother and father. And so I stepped in and helped, I helped my mother and my sister. We escaped one day. Let's just put it that way. One morning, very early after another drunken binge, we just decided we were leaving. We couldn't take it anymore. It was really, I was at a point then, I was like 15, 16 years old, and I felt like I had an ulcer. So they were taking me to, gastroenterologists to find out what was and what it really, and I was in the hospital for gastritis and colitis, and it was really nothing more than the nerves, because every time I came home from school and I turned the doorknob, you never knew what you were walking into. Was it going to be peaceful? Was there, was somebody getting beaten? Was somebody drunk? It was just a really kind of weird place to be. So yeah, you learn how to navigate life, right? That's just what it is. It's who we are. And you start to learn how to put those proverbial tools in the shed that you will need right? And so, and by the way, I'm continually learning what the new tools are, and the shed gets big. I have to keep buying new sheds, because
yes.
I can put more tools in the damn shed. But it's all good. At the end of the day, there's one decision you need to make in life, right? Are you going left or are you going right? And I'd like to say, are you going wrong or are you going right? Are you going wrong or are you going right? And that's really up to you. So I think that personal development is really our sacred duty to ourselves first and foremost, and then to anyone else and everyone else that we will encounter along the way.
I love that. I love that. Okay, 45 books you talked about back then in the in the bookstore on the bookshelf. And you're right. You walk into a Barnes and Noble or
Yeah.
any, self-development probably has the largest listing in any other category.
Yep.
But back then, what in the world, like how did you were you self-introduced to self-help? Was it once again an uncle or aunt or someone? Because where did it come from? Where did the thought come from?
Really, it's a great question. I'm just going to go with, I walked in. I think I was guided. I'm going to say I was guided, divinely guided to the right, the things that I think, I also, when you remember that every thought is energy and the energy goes out. It goes out into the universe. Let's just call it that for now. And the universe will answer in kind. And so if I'm putting out there every day, how can I work this out? How can I figure this out? What is it that I need to know? How come this hurts so much? Whatever it is you might be going through, you're going to get back an answer. And that answer probably had me walk into a bookstore one day and find that, those 40, 50, 60 books that were in self-help. And it was what I was most attracted. Like, I didn't go into a bookstore to read a biography or a romance novel.
Yes.
It wasn't my thing. It wasn't what I wanted to know. It wasn't of no interest to me. But what was of interest was, how I could be a better person tomorrow than I am today. That was really
I am at a different venue. As you can see, the lights went off on me. Hold on, just give me a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I'll just sing supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Would you like me to bring on the dancing girls? I could do a whole bunch of different things if you'd like me to. You didn't even like that.
Thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
No, and you're right. I like the fact that you said you were divinely guided. I have a friend. He always says, "What you desire also desires you."
Yeah.
And you're right. You didn't go and look into read a biography on Joan of Arc. You went there to get your mind and spirit right, if that's what I'm hearing.
Most definitely. As I got out into the world, I also found out that there was a whole different way of living and being, and that yelling and screaming, outside of the familial tribe, the family unit, it didn't work in the outside world. That's what I learned, and it's what I knew. And I knew that the one that yelled the loudest was probably the most heard. But when you get out, you figure people tell you learn right away. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So again, you start to go, wow, okay. So the world can be a different place than what I've learned for the last 18 years, right, at home. And you just move, you move forward, which is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. I wouldn't change a thing. I really wouldn't change a thing.
I love that you said that, and that says a lot about your character and personality. And which leads me to the next question or the next point: self-esteem challenges and wanting to become better and moving into becoming a model. Yeah. How are those two things congruent?
Because I knew that it was exactly what I wanted to do. It's what I wanted to be. And people would say, and of course I kept it really to myself because I was too embarrassed to even say it. I was already living in New Jersey, and I was working in the city, in New York City. And I was starting to meet people, and, I was having a blast, and I was a kid. I was 20, and people would say, you really should be a model. You really should be a model. And I go, oh, I could never. Oh, she's back. And the more, I think it was really also, it was from the prompting of good-hearted and kind people that I said, you know what, if maybe they see something I don't, or maybe they believe in me in a way that I don't. And then and all you have to do is just try. Not everything is going to work, but darn it, and by the way, it's a profession that is, it wreaks havoc in the sense that it's rife with rejection.
Mm.
But remember that rejection is only redirection, right? So if the first time, the second time, the third time it didn't work, the fourth time it does. So I kept believing that it was going to work. And then, within 3-4 months, I was off to Paris. Year after that, I was in Italy, and things just, the more I realized that it was something I really could do. It just fell into place. It was a shift in mindset.
Let me ask you a question, another question to that, to piggyback off of that. You said once you started doing it and you realized, wow, this is something that I really can do, I'm going to do it. So from what I'm hearing, did it take for you to do it until you started to figure out that I can do it? What's your thought process on that, just in general?
I'm going to try, the only thing you can think at that stage is, I got to try. Because if I don't try, I'll never know. And I don't want to live with regret. So if I had tried and it 4th, 5th, 6th time, and I realized I just wasn't cut out for that kind of work, I would have made peace with myself and tried something else. I might have gone into acting immediately. I might have gotten, whatever case the scenario was. But I tried it because it was something I really wanted to do. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, I really am going to give this my all. And it worked. And it may not happen that, every time that way, but it worked for me. And this is why I say I really, I invite people to constantly, again, do the work on themselves so that they can believe. They don't have to go through all the mind trip and all of that before they actually just go to the goal, just start working,
Yes,
just do that. And that's where, personal development, self-improvement books, personal development books, those kinds of things will give you a different edge. It gives you, when you start to work on yourself and you look, my 4 pillars are look good, feel good, be good, and greater good. So the outside, the inside, your head and your heart, right? Those are the 4 pillars. When you start working on those things, things just fall into place. You garner not only the confidence, but direction. Okay, as well. Because you're the one that's, you're writing the script, you are producing the script, you're directing the script, and you're acting in your own movie. It's the coolest damn thing on the planet.
Yes, and you're you're right about that. We are all doing excuse me. Oh yes, all of us are doing all of it at the same time. And I'm a firm believer. Sometimes when you don't have the faith on your own, hold on to someone else's faith.
Yes.
Hold on to some. Have you had a time in your life where things looked a little bleak and you had to hold on to someone else's faith?
My grandmother was always my biggest fan, my sister as well. They're always good. Look, life is life and it triggers you. It does, it ebbs and flows, right? Which is why I say when that hurricane comes through, you got that tornadoes coming by, batten down the hatches. And, the idea of standing strong in your stead, like a well-rooted tree. So here comes a hurricane, off it goes. You may lose a leaf or two, or you might even lose a branch, but you're not going to be able to storm and transport it away. And so that's when I say, have those tools in the shed. Hopefully the shed doesn't blow away with the storm. Joking. But, you have those tools in the shed, right? You've got those. And then and some of the tools you have in the shed, obviously, are those relationships that you have that have nurtured you and that you have nurtured as well, right? That you can always fall back on, that you can count on, the people that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning, the people that have got your back, are some of the most
Very,
important.
very true.
Yeah, those are some of them. It's a euphemism when I say they are tools. Please understand that the tools are in the shed, but they're the relationships that you can always count on. That you must, always never be afraid to ask, and absolutely never be afraid to give.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Speaking of giving, you are an advocate for women's rights and social change. Once again, I have to ask. It seems like there isn't anything that you haven't touched. What inspired you to become so involved in initiatives like Walk in Africa campaign and different things of that nature in 2011?
Right. Well, again, I lived in Italy for 30 years and I was working on television there. So I had the real honor of being a celebrity, a television celebrity. And with that means I was asked to do lots of different things. And one of those things was to be the ambassador for the United States to a campaign called Walking Africa. As close as Italy is to Africa, we also got a lot of African news, and I was to Africa many different times. And I was able to see the plight of the African woman in many different places in Africa. And this campaign was called Walking Africa. And that really was intended to talk about how long distances that African women have to walk for water, some African women, and for clean water, for potable water. And so that was when I was asked if I would, be the ambassador of the United States. Absolutely, no problem. And so I went to Brussels, to Parliament, European Parliament. I was, met with the caravan of African women. Just we all talked on a panel. It was such a beautiful thing. It was so amazing. Long story short, is the African women were nominated to the Nobel Peace Prize. There were 3 different women that were nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011, I think it was, yeah. And so I advocated for them and got the word out to, Oprah and Gayle King and, everybody I could at the moment. And then right before they were nominated, or they won the Nobel Peace Prize, I was told, Clarissa, I said, guys, how are we doing with this? They said, there are like 211 candidates for the Nobel Peace Prize this year. And boy, yeah. And that was about a week before they were declared. And I'll tell you something, my heart didn't even skip a beat. I didn't feel a pit in my stomach. I just knew, like I knew, as Oprah says, that they won. And in fact, a week later, they were declared the winners. And it was another one of my grand crowning moments, was being able to be a part of something as important as African women being brought to the fore and winning a Nobel Peace Prize in the way that they did. I thought that was amazing. It was something I was asked to do, and I was more than happy to participate in. Yeah, it was a great honor for me.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I am literally smiling ear to ear. Your career spans, multiple fields, from modeling to acting to producing to writing and much, much more. How do you balance and draw inspiration from these diverse roles?
Yeah, I've got a lot I got to do before I'm called, to the rainbow in the sky. And I just keep moving. Tomorrow isn't promised, is it? Tomorrow isn't promised. And so that's another one of the most important things that I think that, when you're having a bad time, a bad moment in life, a glitch of some sort and difficulty, is to remember that, it's okay to, lick some wounds, take some self-care time, do all of that, but know that there is much to be done, much work to be done, again, on yourself and in this world in general. And that we have to, you've got to be able to bounce back. And that's where, again, those tools will come in very handy. Take the time you need, cry it out if you have to, call a friend, feel sorry for yourself, again, lick the wound, do all of that, and then bounce back bigger, better, and bolder and more beautiful than before. So that, you can get right back on track on where you're supposed to be. You know what you're supposed to be doing. In your heart of hearts where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing. People say, I don't know, what am I here for? You do know. Like you know. Stop long enough to think about it. Go inside, do a little meditating, and you will get your answers.
One of the biggest things is persistence and perseverance. It's off air, we were talking about just how crazy things are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the news, you look at social media, you're talking to your homegirl, your homeboy, you're talking to your kids. It's just negativity upon negativity.
Yes.
What advice would you give, women of all ages and men of all ages to just shut out the negativity and persist no matter what?
One of the most important things you need to have is a value system. And if you can follow that value system and use that as your blueprint through life, and show up with that blueprint every day, just like a construction worker does when he's building a house or building a building. They've got a blueprint that they work from. You must do the same. And when I say that, Here's mine. I take the high road, and
Hmm.
that is honesty, integrity, gratitude, and honor. And if you can show up every day with all of the things that are most important to you and your value system, you know that you got to be doing all that. There's not a lot of time to think about the negativity because you are so driven by what is positive. It's a mess out there right now. But if I sit down and cry about all the mess that's going on there right now, I'm not helping myself or I'm not helping anybody else. So I know that when I come to, with honesty, integrity, gratitude and honor, I'm coming with positivity. Again, I'm a human being. So I don't always hit the mark, but I do know that that's my driver. Have a driver, have your motivation, have your value system, write it out. I take the high road, put it on a sticky note, put it on your mirror as you're shaving in the morning or as you're doing your makeup. Make sure you look at it many times. Put it on your refrigerator. I got stuff on my refrigerator right now that's all about living in a happy home, and that I will not live in a home that's angry, violent, with strife, and I forget all the things that it says. What else does it have on there? I got a Bentley. I'm not going to lie. I got a Bentley right there I look at every day. That's another driver, not because it's all about money, but it's something that keeps me motivated to get up every day, to walk the walk, to talk, and to live what I preach.
Wow.
It's easy to get up on a pulpit and yap. We can do that, right? We can do that all day long. Preachers do it all the time, but do they really walk the walk? And that's really important. So the driver in all of that is your value system. What's important to you? Gratitude. If you can't drop and give me 5 right now about what you're thankful for, you need to go back to the drawing board right now. If you can drop and give me 10, the better I feel. I mean, I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for the air that I breathe. I'm thankful for the full pantry. I'm thankful for a roof over my head. I'm thankful for a warm blanket. I'm thankful for a comfortable bed. I'm thankful for, running water. Hello, do you know how many people in the world don't have clean running water? I'm thankful for living in, in Arizona for 6 months out of the year. I'm damn thankful for air conditioning. The list is never ending. If you will, I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for the people that like you in my life today. I'm thankful for all kinds of things. Man, I'm telling you. And if you're not everybody's going through great times, but you can always come up with at least 5 things that you can be thankful for and start working on that value system. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be tomorrow? That's important.
What about I got chills in my bodies when you started talking about the being thankful and grateful part. But what about the high achiever, the high performer? They have a goal, they set a date, they have everything on their refrigerator, their walls, vision boards all around the house.
Yeah.
But things are moving slowly or things aren't moving at all. And all of that ambition, but it seems like they have nowhere to put it. What about that person?
Well, that's life. And that's what I was talking about before. There are triggers and it ebbs and flows. And, for example, last year, my mother was in a near fatal car accident. I had to shut my business down for about 7, almost 8 months. I had to shut it down. And it doesn't mean that I didn't still do some podcasts. I found niches. I found little time slots to do it. But I couldn't give my business the 24/7 that I normally give it. 18/24, let's put it that way. I'm usually about 15, 16 hours a day on the business. I couldn't do that because life took over. And so you have to know that, they say, what do they say? When we're busy making plans, God laughs, or something along those lines.
Yes.
Same thing. I mean, it's the same concept, isn't it? We've got the energy, we've got the motivation. We want to, we're trying to get there. And then what happens? You may have a death in the family. You may be going through a separation or a divorce. You may have a birth of a child. You may have an illness. COVID hit. The pandemic happened. The pandemic screwed up more than half of the world in many different ways. Whether it was there have been 3 years with such a sense of loss of friends, loss of family, loss of jobs, loss of money, loss of self, loss of identity. Go down the list, right? So within all of that, we've gotten through it for the most part, right? They're saying we're going to have another, okay, but we're ready this time. First time was a little shocking. This time, if they bring it on again, we kind of know how to handle it. Some people are going to wear masks, some people aren't. Some people are going to get vaccinated, some people aren't. That's all on you. But what I'm saying is the world keeps churning. The world keeps going, and you will have, if you're working on it hard enough, you're working on it long enough, you will have that breakthrough. Look, the first Ford that came off the assembly line and the first light bulb that was invented, they didn't work perfectly either. They were perfected with time. They were perfected with patience. They were perfected with going back to the drawing board. So stick with it if you really believe it in yourself, and you should. And if you don't, get my damn book, because it will help you, as many other books will. But again, today, there's really no more excuse, is there? We've got books, we've got courses, we've got classes, we've got documentaries, we've got movies, we've got uplifting. We've got faith. We've got our uplifting moments that we can search for and look for mindfully. People like you, your champion nation. I mean, there are places that we can be, places that we can exist, that we can coexist with people that will bring, they say that rising tides raise all ships, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, the first was rising tides raise all boats. That was the first change. But you get the point. Stay around and stick around people that are helping you, that are supporting you in your vision and your mission, and be of service to them as well, because it is always a two-way street, isn't it? Be there for people. Be the best you can be. Be the best you can be for other people. And by the way, you may not always get back exactly what you've given out. Don't mind. The universe sees it all. God saw it all. Source saw it all. Krishna, whomever you're following, whomever is important to you, whoever you is your faith.
Absolutely. No, please, absolutely.
Just set it and forget it, they say, right? Give it out, and then don't give it mind. Don't pay it another mind. Just let it go.
I love it. I love that. Now let's talk about this book, because you brought it up three times, and I want to hear so much about this book. I'm loving the author behind the book. I love the energy. I love the gratefulness and how you're talking about it. But I know in your international award best-selling book, the Self-Esteem Regime,
right?
How has it impacted lives on the readers? Let me fix this light. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Hold on.
I'll answer the question. You go. Well, the Self-Esteem Regime was something is a book that I've been wanting to write for a very long time, and it was written. Okay, we finally got a book deal in New York City with Rowman and Littlefield, which was awesome, because we got a traditional publisher to take a look at the book and really like it, which was awesome. And so we got the book published. Thrilled that the book was published. But the reason behind the book was, as I was growing up, I saw so many people that much like myself, that didn't perceive themselves the way I perceived them. My mother, my grandmother, models that I worked with, girls that I, went to school with, their perception of self was so much lower than what I saw. And I wanted to shake them. I really wanted to shake them and say, but why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Talking themselves down, toxic relationships, drugs, alcohol, name it, you name it. And, and so it was really me wanting to write down my frustrations more than anything. But this is really, it's a manual, a mission, and a movement. Because I want to see all human beings living as esteemed beings, right? And so this is a book that you're not going to read about self-esteem. You're going to do self-esteem. The book is in 12 different chapters. Each chapter starts with a word. And the first chapter, Kashawn, is release. What do we got to get rid of? What's not serving us? What did we learn that we thought was written in stone, but it's not? It's not etched in marble. We've got to start. And if you can get through the first chat, and you will, it's not that difficult if you really set your mind to it. What is it that you believe that it's not serving you anymore? You were taught, thanks mom, thanks dad, thanks grandparents, thanks media, thank you social media. That's a whole nother path we could go down, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's really just, again, staying true to yourself. Don't worry about, the grass being greener on the other side, because here's the deal about the grass being greener on the other side. The grass is always greener where you water it. And here's
Very true.
Here's the other thing about the grass being greener on the other side. Is it really grass or is it astroturf? Right?
Great question.
Or is it fake?
Right.
So be really careful, be really mindful. And again, this all goes back to perception. When we're on social media, a lot of people want only you for you to know what they want you to perceive about them. It may not be the truth. And by the way, let them do them. That's okay. But don't be swayed by it. Don't be persuaded by it. Don't be put off by it. And don't think that you are lesser because of it.
You know, every single oak tree started off as an acorn. When we are on social media, we are looking at everyone's highlights. Oh my gosh, this person has 1 million followers, a million subscribers, this, that, and the third. But the thing is, and let me know your thought process on this, Clarissa. Yes. Everyone started off with 0. Everyone.
Yeah. You know, some had a leg up, and that's fine. You know, a lot of people, some people were born rich. Some people weren't born with, as much wealth. That's okay. You know, everything happens for a reason. Okay. I wasn't born rich. I was born into, blue collar family, and that's great. And it was fine. And I was there because I needed to learn my life lessons, and I did. And let's go back. I could have gone right, or I could have gone wrong. Right?
Very true.
Everyone else on this planet. So how do you want to, live out your life? And that's the most important, I think, decision you will ever make. You're going to be either somebody's victim or you're going to be a victor. There's just no other way around that.
No other way. You are a leading authority on beauty and self-esteem. So what advice would you give women and men on, looking to boost their self-esteem and confidence?
Yeah. Well, first of all, again, go back into what it is you need to not believe in anymore. Everything except behind yourself. And I had said something before about wanting to be a better person than I am tomorrow than I am today. We hear an awful lot about I am enough, you are enough, we are enough, everybody's enough. But then one day I looked up the definition of enough, and it is as follows. Only as much as is required. Now, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and I know that I am so much more than is required. So just by definition, the word enough isn't enough.
Wow, no. Wow.
So be very mindful of the words that you're using, because your subconscious will believe you. And that's if I leave your listeners with nothing else, the new mantra is, I am so much more than enough. I do not need to be worried about the astroturf next door. I do not need to be worried about the perception on social media. I do not need to be worried about the naysayers and the people that are not loving and supporting me. I am a loving and supportive person. I'm going to find my tribe and worry about you, Just worry about you becoming the best person that you can be, and let everything else just, slide off, like water off a duck's back.
Clarissa, I am more than enough.
I am so much more than enough.
I am so much more than enough.
That's
With
right.
that being said, what does being a champion mean to you?
Yeah. That's a really, really good one. And I'm going to go with, again, there's something I love to leave people with. We talked about a lot of great virtues. Here's one that I'd love to leave you with. And I think that this goes right along with the question that you've asked me. And that is, it's about loyalty, right? Loyalty is, I've got your back behind your back. Loyalty is, you've got your back. You've got my back behind my back, right? So the most important thing that, when you let's say we're walking into the water cooler in, any situation, and everybody's, dishing on Susie Q. Oh my God, they are just dragging her, that poor girl. And I walk up and say, guys, girls, I know Susie Q, and that's not the girl hell I know you're describing. Maybe she's just having a bad day. Maybe she just needs a hug. And you turn on your heels and you walk, have a good day, everybody, and you walk away. Now you've just distinguished yourself from everybody else, right? You didn't foment with the tribe. You didn't get in when you like the coyotes do. You didn't drag poor Susie Q. Susie Q is Susie Q. Just it is what it is, and she is who she is. Be really kind. We are so lacking in just simple kindness these days, and thinking, and thinking outside ourselves, So why don't we just, all be champions in that? Let's all champion one another.
I love it. I love it. Clarissa, I have enjoyed our conversation so much. We're going to have to do a part 2 next year in 2024. We're going to have to. It is imperative that we do a part 2 to this.
All right.
Where can our viewers and listeners find you?
Just, Clarissa Burt, anywhere on social. I'm not on Snapchat if you are interested in the book. And by the way, the book has a blue cover because I want men to pick this up as well. It was originally a pink cover, and only thing I asked the publisher was please change it to blue so men will read it. Because self-esteem doesn't discriminate, right? And it goes really, as you can see, it goes really broad and really deep. So it's one of those kind of things that we need to, again, it is our sacred duty to be the best we can possibly be at all times. It just is not going to always work because we are human, but darn it, we really need to be giving it the good old college try. Clarissa,
absolutely.
Find me anywhere on social media, and the book is in Barnes & Noble. It's on Kindle, and it's on Audible. And Amazon.
Champion Nation and Amazon.
Yeah.
And Amazon. Champion Nation. It is an international award-winning bestseller. So all of us should have a copy of it either on Kindle or on our bookshelves at home. Yep. Champion Nation, this has been an phenomenal conversation. I am fired up in so many different ways. I cannot wait to go back and watch this and re-watch this and re-listen to it. And I would like to leave Champion Nation with this one affirmation. I am so much more than enough. Did I say that right?
So much more than enough.
I am so much more than enough. Champion Nation, it's been great. Have a champion day. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Take care.